some people are night owls. Great. Do your workouts at night. Get on the bike at 10 o'clock. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. We get so caught up in clock time. We get so caught up in the future of how we think we're going to feel. Well, if you just decide that you're going to feel awesome, and if you just decide that if the body is fatigued, that it's not going to affect your mood, like if you just decide, that's the thing that I think we forget, is that we have free will to make decisions of how we're going to feel. And so let's say we decide that we're going to feel good and we wake up the next morning and we feel tired. The first thing we do is we say, oh, I feel so tired. We forget that we made a decision the night before that we were going to feel great. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Because the rest is confusion in the universe. And then you're going to keep getting confused thoughts and confused days and confused results and confused experiences. Welcome back to the YogiTriathlete podcast. I'm Jess, I'm your host, and I am also the subject matter of this podcast. I don't think it gets much better for me than this.
Win-win. Win.
I get to be the host and the guest. Yay! I'm here with Beej, I'm here with Clark, and I'm kicking it in my 2xU recovery tights. I am literally hours following my finish of my first 100K, and we are here to share that experience with you guys. So thank you so much. Oh my goodness. So many messages to my own Instagram through YogiTriathlete. People who have my number were texting me. Just amazing, you guys. BJ read me messages out on the trail last night in the dark. And gosh, it's so beautiful. This community is so incredibly powerful and strong. And what I love about you guys is that you freaking get it. You get it. We are all here for a life of adventure, pushing the boundaries, and I am so grateful and happy to live off the front. So thank you all for sending out those messages. And I think I replied to everybody, but if I didn't, give me a little holla and I will do that. I might be a little punchy because I'm sleep deprived. I have 9 toes. One is deceased, and I've had a lot of coffee. So, Beej, I'm going to hand it over to you.
So that's where we are.
Yeah.
That sets the stage.
Yeah, that sets the stage.
So, let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
100K.
No messing around.
No messing around.
I got some resting up to do today.
We're going to get right into it. So, 100K, when did this come into your awareness? Let's backtrack. Let's briefly just set the stage.
It started to come into my awareness 2018, just being on the trail, San Diego, hearing people talk about it, hearing about this party in the desert. And I didn't get on the website. I didn't know what it was. I knew there was a 100 mile. I knew there was a 100K, but I never really even checked it out. I just kept hearing it. And when things come into my awareness like that, right, everything is alignment and energy. I was like, this Javelina thing, that sounds fun, Plus, I'm always drooling at going bigger and going longer, always kind of drooling at that. And, I'm here to continually find out where the limits are and meet those and love them and, get to the other side of them. So, yeah, I would say it was like 2018. And then I was doing some running with my friend Pamela late last year, and she was talking about it a lot. And then I reached out to our athlete Liz and I said, hey, what about Javelina? And she said, oh, it's already on my calendar. Registration opens January 1st. And so January 1st, I registered.
No hesitation, which is usually your MO.
No, why hesitate?
Well, I can think of many things that could come into the awareness of what's the course like. How much is it?
Doesn't matter.
Is it still open?
Doesn't matter.
How much elevation?
Doesn't matter. Just do it. If it's coming into your life, that's alignment. So act on it or not. Doesn't really matter if you act on it or not. But the hesitation thing comes in with the thinking and the calculations and all of that stuff being fueled, I think, by fear and anxiety of, is it going to be too hard? Am I not going to be able to do it? If it's aligned, go do it. If you feel it in your heart, go, do it. Don't hesitate. Just act.
And that's what we've actually been talking a lot about recently is the momentum. And so you have this hit and you feel the momentum building. And, why would you want to stop that? Why would you want to halt the momentum that you're starting to listen to your heart, or you're continually listening to your heart? Because a lot of people are already on this path. Like they already feel that hit inside.
Act on it.
Act on it. Yeah.
100% act on it. We know that the heart has the greatest energetic resonance. We know that the heart actually is what determines the mapping of the brain, right? They've done these electromagnetic scans of the heart, and we know that the heart is the biggest energetic field. It knows what it's doing, follow it. And it's going to ask you to do scary shit, for sure. It's going to ask you to do crazy, scary shit. Just the answer is always yes.
And this is so great. You need to jump into that present right there, because that's where the mind gets involved, and it's thinking about an experience in the past, and it's saying, oh, Jess, you did a 50 miler and remember that time that it was painful, and remember the lead up and you weren't able to run your full distance, and all these stories build up, and it's blocking your momentum to act on that decision.
Well, and it's also attunement, right? So thought is universal. They're not your thoughts. Thought is universal. So everything is energy. What are you attuning to? So I can look back at Lake Sonoma and say, oh, it hurt, it this and that. But that's not what I attune to. Even in the moment when I was like transforming into a wild animal to get to the finish line, I wasn't caught up in labeling the sensation. I was just like, I am alive. I am alive. And last night, like every time I kicked a rock with that deceased toe, I was like, I'm alive. I'm alive. It's just reminding me that I'm alive. So when I look back on Lake Sonoma, it's like, I like becoming a wild animal. I like getting dirty. I like doing things that are, I guess, challenging to the human. I like that. And it's all, people are doing bigger stuff. They're doing shorter distance stuff that feels just as big. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. It's what are you aligned with? Like, I don't feel in my heart like I want to go to Kona World Championship. I don't. But if I did, if that was placed on my heart, you better believe I'd still be an Ironman. You better believe I'd be working and showing up every day to get there. But that's not on my heart. But yesterday was on my heart. And now it's in my bones and it's in my cells. And as I sit here now, I'm just absorbing that fitness and getting stronger.
Yeah, totally. This whole week, you're just going to get super, super fit.
I know. I love that. And I feel it.
Of course you do.
I feel it. And I think the first time I really, really felt it was that week between Lake Sonoma and Mendocino. It was like Wednesday or Thursday. I was like, oh my God, I'm stronger. Like I could feel it soaking into my cells. And that might sound vague and that might sound kind of out there for people. But when you really get acutely aware of your body awareness, I'm not talking about just noticing things. I'm talking about feeling when you're experiencing cellular shifts. It's so cool. And I felt the fitness come in before Noble Canyon. It like hit on Thursday before. And I was like, woo, I'm stronger today. And I felt it hit for this. Like we were going out for runs and I was just like, I feel really, really good. And I wasn't feeling really, really good 2 weeks before the race. As this inflammation settles down in my body, I mean, I'm already pretty much walking fine, which is the bonus of a plant-based diet. I think recovery has been the biggest thing that we've seen. Just being conservative, not rushing back into anything, but also not losing the momentum.
Right. So the norm is to do a big race and then just stop, right? Take a few days off, do nothing.
I've got meditator Bob in my head right now going, no,
Right.
Don't,
Right.
Why would you stop the momentum?
Right.
It takes so much to get momentum going.
Yeah. I realized how important it is for that day after and the 2 days after and the 3 days after to keep the body moving somehow. Walking, if you can't walk, obviously get into the pool.
Yeah, I'd like to get
swim.
into the pool. I'd like to get in the pool today.
Yeah, we'll get in the pool. But biking, after Mount Tremblant the next day, I did a 45-minute swim and an hour bike, just simple, easy bike. And yeah, the body is going to feel the inflammation, but all you're doing is just you're moving things through your body. You're keeping that momentum going. In my opinion, it's doing absolutely nothing, laying on the couch for 48 hours is actually going backwards.
Yeah, that's thumbs down.
Yeah. We want to be active. All right, so there's the 100K. You've lined up, you've decided what What does training look like leading into this race for you?
More and more and more, am really feeling all the years. Like I've been training, whatever race it is that I'm doing, I've been training for it since 2005. And even before that. And even before that, like when I was doing my aerobic stuff, and then you and I, when we first met, we'd do like our 3-mile runs.
We'd bike around the drive.
We'd bike around Ocean Drive.
10 miles.
On our mountain bikes. And it's all prepared me for whatever it is that's in front of me. And I think that we get really caught up in training blocks. Oh, my training block didn't do good. Well, what happened the year before and the year before, right? And it's really about that momentum. So what does training look like for me? I run 7 days a week. I swim 1 to 2 times a week. Yoga. My relationship with yoga has really shifted. If you talk to me, I would say even 3 years ago, I was like, you got to do, this many yoga, like I do this many a week. And I have found so much brilliance in the 15-minute practice, the 20-minute practice, the 30-minute practice. And so I'm doing a lot more. I'm hardly ever going to a class, but I'm doing these little 15-minute, 20-minute sessions here and there. And I'll do that 2 to 3 times a week. And I would say 3 to 4 times a week, actually. And that's medicine. The pool is medicine, and the strength work. So my sucks enough came in the middle of July, coming off of pacing my friend at Lake Tahoe, where I had been managing some foot sensation and really started to come up against this like you should be able to heal this in your meditation or something like that. Like just stupid stuff that was keeping me from getting vulnerable and asking for help. So I started to work with Dave from Inside Out Strength and Performance. And it was really like during our podcast with him, I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting in here. And I have been relentlessly committed to that.
And relentlessly committed meaning wake up at 3:30, meditate, get to the trail, lay your mat out.
In the dark, in the cold, all bundled up, doing exercises in the pitch dark at the trailhead without excuse, without drama. And then peeling off the clothes and getting out there in the dark and doing my runs. And that's what it takes. If you want your yes to be yes and your no to be no, like if you say you're going to do something, this is really important stuff for really living with more flow in your life, is let your yes be yes and your no be no. So if you're saying you're going to do something, then say yes all along the way. Yes, I'm going to get up at 3:30. Yes, I'm going to go do the exercises. Yes, I'm going to make time for it. And those exercises, we started with like really just deep foundational, very basic stuff on the mat. It's probably like 15 minutes a day. It got to a point where it was like 45 minutes a day, twice a day, plus long runs, plus everything else, the swimming, the yoga, the life, the podcast, the work, the amazing athletes that I work with. And it's just making the time day after day after day.
And it wasn't necessarily, part of it was shifting your day, like just tuning into the things that are really important that need to get done. But you also made the commitment to wake up earlier, like come back into the, all right, let's wake up. I was getting up at 4:30. Now I need to get up at 4 and backtracking it that way to make the time.
And so what? So what? So what if I get up at 4? So what if I get up at 3:40? So what? Who cares? We get so attached to, I'm going to be tired and then tomorrow and I've had a big day and I had a long day and I have this and well, none of that is helpful. Set the alarm, set the intention, get the espresso in the thing, on the stove, get the shoes, get the keys out, get everything so you get up and you're out the door.
Yeah, the biggest thing you can do is get on the other side of that front door. That's your commitment. Yes, you got to plan the night before and get everything laid out. Get on the other side of that door.
How many times over the years would it be like getting off the trainer, right? Getting off the bike, you and I, at like whatever, 8 o'clock at night, putting dinner together, washing out the bottles, putting the bottles together for the next day, getting the clothes out, changing over the laundry so we'd have run clothes for the brick, getting the bottles on the bike, everything we need. How many years of that have we done that? Where we're like, oh my God, all I want to do is go to bed. All I want to do is just watch something on TV. And it was like, no, show up, show up, show up, show up, show up. And the more you show up, it's just easier to show. It's just who you are. You just show up. But if you're allowing those excuses to win, gosh, it just makes everything so much harder. It doesn't have to be hard. Life doesn't have to be hard. Running 100K doesn't have to be hard. Running 100 miles doesn't have to be hard. None of this has to be hard.
And for people that say, or when we hear responses that it's hard or it's really challenging, it's only because they haven't achieved it yet. Right? They're relying on something that they have no reference point for, and they're trying to think about it.
Or like there was an experience that was labeled as
and
bad.
then that becomes their story. And so
So
Mel Robbins has that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I know I talk about this, but I feel it really works well for athletes. If you want to get up in the morning, you commit the night before, you roll over, the alarm goes on, and you're like reaching to hit snooze, and the thoughts are coming in saying, well, I'll actually have a window around 1 o'clock this afternoon to do my run. That's when you jump in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Count yourself and get up.
And some people are night owls. Great. Do your workouts at night. Get on the bike at 10 o'clock. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. We get so caught up in clock time. We get so caught up in the future of how we think we're going to feel. Well, if you just decide that you're going to feel awesome, and if you just decide that if the body is fatigued, that it's not going to affect your mood, like if you just decide, that's the thing that I think we forget, is that we have free will to make decisions of how we're going to feel. And so let's say we decide that we're going to feel good and we wake up the next morning and we feel tired. The first thing we do is we say, oh, I feel so tired. We forget that we made a decision the night before that we were going to feel great. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Because the rest is confusion in the universe. And then you're going to keep getting confused thoughts and confused days and confused results and confused experiences. Just keep it simple. Like when we say simple, we're talking simple.
All right. So give us a training regimen. At least just some insight into like maybe some structure that you had.
Monday is usually a recovery day. So a swim and yoga, or a swim and an easy run. 30-minute shakeout. I love those shakeout runs. Tuesday could be back on the trails, maybe an hour and a half or so. Like I'm just kind of thinking on average. Wednesday's always run group. Depending on where I am with training, it could be a double run day. Thursday's back on the trails, usually longer. Friday will be an easier day. Saturday may be a steady day, 10K, between like a 10K and a 12K or something like that. And then Sunday's big. Sometimes as training gets bigger, Saturday will be a couple hours and Sunday can be up to 7 hours. So swimming is typically Monday, and Fridays are really nice too. I usually have a lot of athlete sessions on Fridays, but when I can sneak in a swim, that's amazing. And yoga is typically Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Sometimes I throw down a little bit on Saturday.
So for hours, I would say you've been training maybe 15 hours a week, roughly?
Maybe. I don't know.
Including the swim, including the yoga, the strength.
It might be more. It might be in the 20s.
So 15 to 20, 20-ish.
Yeah, but when you think about like a 7-hour run, there's half of that right there.
Yeah, but then you sprinkle
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Shakeouts, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably be close to 20. I got my biggest mileage weeks in, which is fun. My biggest mileage week I just had my biggest running mileage week as of yesterday.
Which was?
70 miles.
What was it really?
69.8.
Perfect. There's nothing coach likes better than to come in at 69.8.
Yeah, which is cool. So I'll be seeing that number more and more, I'm sure. But my biggest mileage a week leading into this race was just under 68. So again, it was like 67.7 or something like that, whatever. And that's really cool. But I think what's so smart about that number is that that wasn't a number that we planned. That wasn't like you have to hit. We never chase miles. We never chase miles with your training. And I think that's what keeps me going, is that it's all about consistency and moving forward. And if we think that we have to get a certain amount of miles in, I just don't think you're giving yourself a chance at the potential of success that you've got. It's about consistency and momentum, consistency and momentum.
Yeah, I think that it's a durability question in my mind, because you look at ultra runners or runners out there and you may equate your mileage to them. They're going at a much faster pace, and they've already built a huge foundation to build this on. So it's important to just show up for who you are in that day, and whatever the prescribed time is, you continually nail out and bang those 30-minute runs, 45-minute runs, and stacked, and slowly they build up to 50-minute runs, and then hour 5. And then as you continually do this day in and day out, you get to a point where you're consistently running, an hour to an hour and a half becomes your short run. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And it's really cool to look back on just a couple years ago, leading into my first ultra. My longest run was 14 miles. But we built it on a consistent weekend. We did 14 miles. The next day, I think I did 3 miles easy. And the next day I ran 13. So I had like a big chunk in there. And then leading into, year later, leading into Sonoma, now I'm getting more 50-mile weeks consistently. I had my first 30-mile training run. Leading into this race, I had a couple 30-mile training runs. I had plenty of 50-plus mile weeks. And it's all because we just keep adding a new layer onto the base that I already have. We're not trying to build on a base that's not solid.
Yeah, that mileage goes to waste, in my opinion. If you don't have the foundation to absorb that speed or that volume, then you're literally taxing your body so much that recovery is going to take longer.
Yeah, and my recovery is pretty great. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about how you coach me, is that you'll say, well, I'll be like, all right, what's up for tomorrow? You're like, how you doing today? I'm like, I feel amazing. You're like, all right, you got another 2-3 hours in you tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I can do like a 2-hour run and then a 3-hour run and then like a 5-hour run. It's like, my God, that's amazing. But if we were like, okay, you have to do this weekend where you have to do 10 miles and 15 miles and 30 miles, it would be like, like out in the future, we're not giving me a chance to say, hey, I got to back off. Hey, this is talking. Hey, I feel amazing. Let's even go bigger.
Right. It's present moment coaching, pretty much.
Yeah, it's really effective.
All right. So that's the training. That's pretty good volume. If your biggest week was this week, then you got up to 50 a couple times. So you really never ran in a week the full 62 miles.
I got over 60 2 or 3 times.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, which is awesome. Leading into Sonoma, I got over 60 once. And I was like, ooh, and again, it's all a bonus. It's like, oh my God, look at what that added up to. We weren't chasing the miles. So this is a really great base for going longer.
100 miles.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into the race.
Okay.
I really want to capture the vibrancy and entertaining element of this race, because you had talked about it. We looked at the website, we saw videos, got on YouTube, but nothing really prepares you for when you pull up at 4:30 in the morning and the music is pumping, and it actually made me think about Woodstock when I went to Woodstock in the mid 90s when it came back. And it was just a party scene. Like, it's just music from the start. The DJ was pumping. The energy, it was super high. It was Tent City. Really blew my mind, especially at 4:30 in the morning.
It's so cool. The RD is like amazing. She's like on top of this truck, dressed as the mad. She must have, every time I look at a story, she's got another costume on. I think her name is Jubilee. She is amazing. By the time I came in, she had a bear costume on with a flower halo that was like lighting up. And I just gave her a big hug. I was like, this is an incredible show that you put on. Like, it's a show. It's like a Broadway show. And then in the middle of it, you've got people running 100K and 100 mile. I mean, it's just so... They had fire dancers. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see those, no.
There were fire dancers, and I mean, it was just, yeah. I mean, they have everything from the, best costume to best ass award. I mean, they say it's an R-rated event. It
certainly
amazing.
is. The bombs that she was dropping on the mic and the type of music that was playing got pretty rowdy.
They have like a full-on DJ who I guess is a badass ultra runner too, and she's like, her job is a DJ. They like full-on like ripping the tunes all day long.
And that's right. It's literally, so where she is on top of a truck, and it's right next to where the tents line this J-shaped course. So every time athletes came in, they had to do this J and do the turnaround right at the finish start line, which is right where she was pumping the music with the DJ. So you had to run through all these tents of people, which created this really cool vibe.
It was really, really cool.
And you got to experience it 3 times. I just did it on that last...
It was confusing the first time, but now I know what's happening.
Yeah, people were like, where's the aid station? Where's the aid station? And the guy was telling people, go through, past the aid station, go to the end, circle around, and get it on your way back.
It was very it was confusing at the first. And also because I fell once yesterday, and I fell right before the Hoka Arch coming into headquarters, and I fell and landed on like a cactus, and I literally had cactus, what are they called? Prickers in my ass, in my skirt, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta run through like the village, turn around, run back, and these things are like sticking into my butt the whole time. But thank God I had another skirt.
Yeah, it was a quick change too.
Yeah, I was like, where can I go? No, I just jumped behind this like storage tent, got in there, and just whipped my clothes off and changed. Yeah, I was grateful for that.
All right, so we're there race morning. We get your packet pickup. We meet up with some people. You place your drop bag at the little staging area, and then how did you prepare it right before the race?
We went back to the car and we meditated. And when my training comes down, I do longer meditations. And that's something that my teacher taught me. It's that nothing is going to give you energy like meditation. And it's really true, because meditation puts you in a brainwave that's more energizing than actual sleep. So I've been talking about sleep probably this last couple months on and off, like that it's not all that it's cracked up to be. And I really got an opportunity to change my relationship to sleep as I was leading into pacing my friend at Tahoe. So I'm really, really grateful for that, because that really got me to look at my relationship to sleep and these patterns that I have, that at 7 o'clock I put my jammies on, or 8 o'clock and you don't go out. And I was getting myself out the door at 8:30, 9 o'clock, even just going for 20-minute runs to interrupt this sleep pattern that I had developed, which is super helpful, knowing what's in my future. And so we went back to the car and meditated, which was really peaceful and deep. And it was funny because during that meditation, there was a couple times where I was like going to visualize. And visualizations have been they've been a distraction to my meditation, because my meditations are taking me to a kind of a deeper level of peace where I'm like, I don't need to visualize because I already know.
So what's in your awareness when you're not thinking about anything? You're not trying to visualize. What are you focused on?
I don't even know. I mean, it's a state of like no mind. Like I'm finally, after all these years, I'm finally experiencing consistent bouts of meditation. So meditation is the mind at deep rest. So you're not thinking or focusing on anything. It's just I've dropped into I can't explain it. But until you get there, you got to show up and you got to spend the time concentrating the mind. You got to train the mind. And so that's why I think it's really easy to get frustrated with meditation when you're doing 10, 15 minutes, because it doesn't give the mind enough time to settle down and to be quiet. So stretching it out to 20, 25 minutes, even if you're just beginning, is really good, I think, because it's going to give you more time. But you're going to be in the battle, and that's cool. Anybody who's experiencing actual bouts of meditation has been in the battle. And so, yeah, I've just been in this like really deep, I guess you could just say it's this communion with an energy that's underneath it all. I'm just hanging there. I'm hanging with that. It's really cool.
Did you feel excited when we walked away from the car and headed towards?
Yeah, so I've been feeling excited. So Sunday of last week, I was meditating, and I heard the number 1452. And then I heard the thought, motherfucker, I'm going to break 15 hours at this race. Knowing all I had to do was like under 17 to throw my name in for most lotteries for 100 milers. I already qualified to do that because of what I did at Sonoma. But I was like, motherfucker, like, I'm going to have to earn this, aren't I? And of course I am, because that's how I approach racing. And I love that. I love being in charge of every second. I love that. So I was like 14:52. So I saw that time, but then what I understood from that was that's the time. It's up to you to beat it. It's not set in stone. You can do whatever you want with this time. You could screw it up, like it's yours to lose, which I wasn't going to, or you could go even faster. So I was like, dang, like, why can't I just go in there and be like, 17 hours, cruise, walk, whatever. But I knew that, I was going to go in there and I was going to earn it and put it all out there. And I think that, showing up in your training really translates to showing up in your racing, because you got to show up in your racing too. And you really want to sharpen that skill of showing up. Don't expect that if you're not showing up in your training that all of a sudden you're going to be able to show up to your potential in racing. You're not. So it's just like these skills that we get to sharpen. Like, I just had this knowing that it was going to be an amazing experience. And I just left it at that. Like, I wasn't visualizing or anything like that. And I remember my friend Golden said to me earlier this year, she's like, do you spend a lot of time visualizing your races? And I was like, I don't anymore. And she goes, yeah. She goes, you don't need to at this point, because you're just attuning to that higher vibration, and you don't need to get involved in it. Like, you just trust it. Like, you could probably visualize for 2 minutes and you'd be all set. Like what I used to do for every day for a month. Like, I used to be crazy about my visualizations. So I was feeling excited. And I was feeling really powerful all week. And then I just imagine all that energy kind of going into like right into the center of my heart. And then I go, okay, now just stay there. Just stay there. Right. And that's kind of like that pratyahara, the self-regulation of the science of yoga. It's like, it's the self-restraint, not like, oh my God, it's going to be so like, spewing out all your energy, but having that self-regulation to just feel this incredible energy that you want to scream from the mountaintop and just let it build and build and build. It's really cool. So yes, I was excited, but more so in a knowing sense than knowing that I was going to have a really, really beautiful experience, really powerful, amazing experience, and not exciting in the emotional sense of it.
Well, I think the energy, and Carol had this question too, like the energy of the event, was it more of something that helped you attune to that in yourself, that oneness, or was it more of a distraction into the goal that you needed to achieve?
No, I was completely attuned to the whole experience. Remember, the whole reason why I was there is because it was coming into my awareness for well over a year. So I was totally attuned and really appreciative and really enjoying watching people just have fun and party and be a part of that. So it wasn't a distraction, although I do like the silence on the trail. But I also am I go into aid stations and, I interact, and then I'm out of there and I like running by myself.
And during this race, I was able to had the luxury of and experience to pace you the last 20 miles in the dark out there on the trails, and it was certainly a party scene, especially at Jackass A Station and the Javelina headquarters. But other than that, it was pretty quiet and
so
peaceful.
amazing.
If you didn't create the noise, like if you just heard the crickets and just heard your foot strike and your breath, and
it was so that's the epic. When I say it was epic, that's the epic. Starting out on the first loop yesterday, just after sunrise, and it's still chilly, and the sun is still rising up, and it's gorgeous. It was so beautiful. And there's people stopping and taking pictures, and I haven't in the past taken pictures during the race because I'm like, this is for me. Like, this is for me to enjoy right now and not be distracted by getting my phone out. And actually, I even had you bury my phone like in the bottom of my bag because
it was way down.
I was like, in case, whatever, just in case. And on that first loop in those first miles, I just was looking around. I was taking it in. I was just connecting and asking the desert to welcome me in. And I was thanking it for allowing me to be there, and that my intention was to tread lightly, and that I was there to appreciate and to share in its power. That's what I love. I feel like everything I've done has led me to the trail, and I just absorb in nature, and I ask it to absorb me. I just want to become one with it. And through the evening, as the sun went down, remember how beautiful it was when the sun went down? It was blinding me. I couldn't really see anything. And then the crickets, and you could hear the birds in the dark, like some birds making noise. It was amazing. And the swallows, the old, amazing cactuses out there. Whoa.
You pointed out two of them, too. I think we crested this small little hill, and there was one on either side of us,
yes,
kind of like goalposts, and they were just so...
supporters.
Yeah, and our lights were just shedding enough light on them, and they were just, wow.
Epic.
Yeah, just their presence was demanding.
Yes.
It's like, I'm here, just go through me. Like, go through here and be on your way.
And I always say those are like my spectators. Those are my fans. Like, at one point, you and I were running, I started to laugh a little bit, and you were like, what? I'm like, because there was this cricket making a lot of noise, and I was like, he's like cheering us on. It's like supporting us. It was really cool. Yeah.
For those that, want to know how does someone pace 100K coming off of, somewhat of a 2-week taper, so you're feeling good and your energy is calm and purposeful and determined, and you come to the race start and you line up and you start running and you see people passing you and they're going strong, and you're like, well, I actually feel pretty good. I should probably go a little bit stronger than I wanted to. How what's your approach to starting a long adventure like this?
We had a plan, and the plan was conservative on the first loop. So it's just holding back. I'm so not attuned to any thoughts about people passing me. It doesn't matter. Because, I should say, I'm not 100% not attuned to them, because people will pass me and I'm like, I'm going to pass them all later. Like, I know I'm going to pass them all later. I passed so many people on that second loop. So my plan was conservative on the first loop, and really didn't do a lot of study of the course, but recognized pretty quick that the first 10.5 miles, most of that is a net gain, and then it's kind of flat, then it kind of ebbs and flows as you go in and out of these washes, and then you hit Jackass Junction, and after you hit Jackass Junction, it's kind of a net downhill. So when I hit Jackass at 10.5 and then started to go down, I was just cruising super light and easy, and I was like, gosh, I need to be conservative. So every 10, 15 minutes, I would stop and walk for a couple of minutes. And then I would start again, just knowing, like, not getting panicked about, like, I shouldn't be walking because I feel really good. So I took that first loop conservative. And the thing that you've taught me, BJ, is that, you know, that as you increase your effort, it doesn't necessarily mean that your paces are going to increase, but you're increasing your effort, right? So the plan was first loop conservative, second loop push, and third loop was balls out, whatever. So first loop was longer than any of the other loops, which is really kind, because this loop that you do, this additional loop, which I think brings you to about 22 or 23 miles on that first loop, I could see that would be pretty challenging. It was probably included the most technical parts of the course. And you just do that once and you do it in the daytime, and that's lovely. Then the other two loops, so this is for the 100K course, are under 20 miles each. And so the first loop I came in just over 5 hours and, I had about 20, 23 miles. And the second loop, it's a washing machine style. So basically I went back out the way I came in. Now we're talking about a net gain. And I was like, dang, I forgot I got to push this section. So I just pushed. I would say I was one of 5 people that were running out there. It must have passed 50 people. I mean, I think we looked at my progression last night when I came in. I hit the first aid station in like 189th position and ended up top 20 in overall female yesterday, and just pushed and was running up, knowing, okay, just get to Jackass. That's 9 miles. Just push. And when I wasn't pushing, I kept the same amount of effort power hiking, just relentless, just push that 9 miles, knowing that I'm strong enough. Another thing I've learned from you, BJ, is like race day is about testing your fitness and trusting your fitness. So when it was getting like, this is tough, and it was getting hot, which none of those things really shook me. It was just noticing what was happening and respecting this temple that I live in. So I did 3 minutes running, 1 minute hard walking, 3 minutes running, 1 minute hard walking. And this is really where I was like, made that connection between the showing up, because I didn't feel like running uphill for 3 minutes and then walking hard for a minute. I think maybe even walking hard for a minute was probably the toughest, because I just wanted to go easy. And it was like, yeah, I can show up here without effort, even when I don't feel like it, because I show up when I don't feel like it. And so it just makes it easier. And then finished that second loop in, I think, a little under 5. And then you and I headed out. And at that point, my eyes were kind of bugging out. The sun was low. Couldn't really see anything. And you like get on the trail. You like start running. I was like, whoa, dude, like, hold on a second. I'm just like, I can't really see. My eyes are bugging out. I just need a second. So we kind of, I wouldn't say we took it a little easy to that first aid station, which is about mile 4 of the third loop. So now we're at about mile 45. And then I pushed it from that to Jackass. Around mile 50, I started to feel nauseous.
And it's dark now. We have our lights on.
Yeah, we have our lights on.
A whole set of different circumstances.
I know, but I love it.
You do. Why do you love it so much?
I love it because it's like focus, because all you can see is what's in front of you. I love that. Something
that you never truly was gravitating to.
No, I was scared of it.
Right.
And I remember asking people about night running, and someone said that to me. They said, no, it's actually easier because all you're doing is focusing on what's in front of you. And I was like, that's how I live. That's going to be awesome. So I love it.
Especially if you have lumens, lots of lumens.
Yeah, lots of lumens. And so we get to Jackass on that third loop, was starting to feel pretty nauseous. Like something had to give, right? I was like, oh, okay, like this had to give. I started to feel a little nauseous, but I was thinking that like Jackass Junction was going to kind of save all. I was going to have something warm, maybe some broth, like something to kind of settle my stomach, because it was just starting to not feel good. And then when I got to Jackass and started to smell the food, that's when my stomach was like, no. And I got first of all, shout out to Javelina, vegan friendly. I mean, it even says like, ask about vegan at the aid station. So she gave me some potato soup and I took one tiny little sip of broth and I was like, And then you gave me ginger and I was like, And then I was like, I had this moment of like, I don't know what to do. And the people were like, what do you need? And I was like, maybe just some water. I was still kind of sipping on Roctane, and I grabbed just like one pretzel, and we left Jackass and was just kind of walking a little bit of a tiny little hill out of there, tiny little hill out of there. And we started walking a little bit and it just wasn't feeling good. We ran. And then I stopped and had like just a couple, like maybe 30 seconds of throwing up. And I was so grateful because I knew I was going to feel better on the other side of that. Couple minutes of walking there, sipping on some ginger ale, and like literally taking tiny little bites of pretzel, knowing that it's like, okay, great, this is what happens. You get through this and then you're going to feel better. And then I felt better. But I also had this confidence, you guys. I was so good with my nutrition. My nutrition game was on point. My goal was I wanted to front load nutrition because I have a strong constitution and I knew I was going to be feeling really good and I was going to have all my faculties going in the right direction. So I had 700 calories in me in an hour and a half of that race yesterday. At 2 hours, I had 1,050 calories in me. So I was just front loading calories. And then it was like Roctane, watermelon, Pringles.
You love your Pringles.
And pickles. I haven't had Pringles since like a long time.
But you love potato chips.
Yes, but these Pringles were so good because they're like kind of not really chips or like something else.
They're like legit Pringles. They were all like perfectly aligned.
Yeah,
like,
you just grab a stack and you go. They were amazing. So watermelon, Pringles, pickles. That was pretty much my nutrition.
And how many gels? You started taking gels?
I only took 3 gels.
And then at the end, you were like, no, I do not want gels.
Yeah, when we left Jackass, you were like, do you want this? No. Do you want Roctane? No. Do you want gels? No. Please don't ask me if I want gels again. I don't want gels. I don't want any more gels. But I knew that was going to happen. So I had taken a gel before the race and I took 2 in the first hour and a half, plus put down 2 bottles of Roctane. So that was that 700 calories. Had 1,050 in by 2 hours. And then it was just Roctane because I was like, okay, I got a really good base. Let that absorb and just keep doing 250 calories an hour and just see how it goes. The other thing I did was I had 4 BCAA capsules before the race started and 2 capsules every hour until I couldn't do it anymore. So I think I took in 24 capsules yesterday. And then salt. I went through 3/4 of a little capsule of those base salt. And I started hitting salt at 10 minutes into the race. 10 minutes into the race, I took salt. The first aid station, when it was still cool out and the sun wasn't high in the sky, I had ice down my arm warmers, which were now arm coolers. And just cooling off and salt from the start.
Yeah, it's a commitment, right? It's a commitment to your nutrition and all the training that you put in, the time, the hours can immediately be diminished, be swept away if your nutrition isn't on point. And you need to practice it. So you've been practicing. Every long run you do, you're filling up the backpack, you're filling up your water bottles in the front, you've got your salt. Every long run, you've done that. So you're training your body, and luckily you've had some really good heat training days where you've been able to see what the body's sweating out, what you need, what you don't like, and sticking with that, but also being flexible with, I don't need to shove calories down right now. My stomach is not, it's really not vibing. It's okay to step away. I think there was, when I was pacing you, I think there was like a 30 or 40 minute section where I didn't see you take anything in because you're just letting the stomach just recalibrate. Okay, well, this is where we are now. Let me give it some time. I've got enough calories in me to keep moving. It doesn't mean I stop. And eventually it will turn. It will always turn. It will always turn.
Yeah.
Just give it time. It just
And
needs
don't
to.
get caught up in how the body feels. Don't get caught up mentally in how the body feels. Because if you get caught up mentally in how the body feels, the body is going to take a lot longer to turn. And so in that, I think you actually got it on video when I was like walking and I had the ginger ale and I didn't know you were videoing me. It's actually pretty good. Like maybe we'll pop that up on Patreon so people can check it out. Where it's me basically in a rough spot with the body, and I say, this is amazing. And you're like, why is this amazing? And I can't remember what I said, but that's how I looked at it. I was like, this is amazing. And even when I was throwing up, I'm like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. This is amazing. Thank you, body. Like, you are so unbelievable.
And so smart. It knew. It was like, okay, enough for now.
Yeah.
So that's the attunement with the body. Like, listen to your body. Like, listen to it. It's telling you something, right? It's saying, like, stop the calories right now. I just need to get to catch up for a few moments. You can keep going.
But I had the confidence that I was going to be fine, number one, because I'm not the body, but also because I had so many calories in my body already. And you got to find what works, right? So it's like, what? Ginger, potato soup, pretzels and water. And then even in those last miles, I was sipping a little bit of goo Roctane. And we got to that last aid station. We had 3.7 miles left. I didn't know we had that little. I knew it wasn't a lot. And I was standing there and the girl looked at me. And I think you were filling your bottles up. And the girl looked at me and she's like, what do you need? What do you need? I said, I need the finish line. I'm out of here. And I was like, Beej, I'm out of here. Like,
And I actually wasn't filling up my water bottles. I was sipping on some Coke. I couldn't pass up the Coke. So you went into the darkness. I'm like, I got to go catch her. So I downed the Coke and quickly caught up to you.
I was just like, I need the finish line.
But you did that at the Jackass one too. Like, just keep moving. And I think that's a good runner pacer relationship. Like, the runner will, like, let the runner keep moving through. Him or her know, like, they need to keep moving. You just support them. You stay in the back. You get what you need, and then you just catch up.
And
to
you
them.
tell the pacer what you need. Like I said to you, I was like, I need you to stay behind me.
Right.
Like, I just need you to stay behind me because your light was actually giving me really, like, your light was around your waist and my light was on my head, and it was just giving me really great full spectrum light. And I felt strong. The whole thing was like, when I was running, I felt strong. I could feel that strength I've been doing for the last 3 months. Like, I didn't feel like my form was really breaking down.
So you finished the race. Well, let's talk about just briefly, like, what did it feel like to come up that hill as you approached the finish, and you were saying to yourself, I've never had you here.
Yeah.
To experience, like, good for me. Was it good for me?
Yeah, yay for me.
Or yay for me. Is that something you do in races?
Typically,
like
yeah. Yay for me.
Why do you do that?
Because I just like to celebrate Jess. Like, she just shows up and she gives it everything, and she's so true to her goals, and I think she's really cool. I think that she is super strong and she's really grateful, and she's done a lot of work to align herself with all that is powerful and good, and that she doesn't have to be punished to live there. And she's gritty, and she pushes when she doesn't want to push, and she's so loving of her body and her mind. And so, yeah, yay for me. I like to celebrate this girl that I get to be. I think she's pretty cool.
I do too.
I know her more than anybody does, and she's pretty true to what she says.
Yeah, you commit. Your determination is just amazing. It's just so strong and solid, and I'd love to witness it. I'd love to be out there witnessing the whole thing, having the front row seat actually for 20 miles, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, what did you think about that last, like, when we left? Well, what did you think about it, knowing I already had like 42 miles, and what was your observation as my coach and as my husband?
Yeah, I was extremely impressed with the way that you just kept navigating the three minutes running, the 1 minute walking, grabbing what you needed in the aid stations, not shopping the buffet and moving on, and understanding your awareness was really acute too, knowing that you needed to fuel up. You know, I didn't need to remind you. You were on your game, and your pace looked good, and you were running strong, and there were a couple instances in there where you picked up your pace and you started, I could feel the momentum going, like the 3-1 was ditched and you were just cruising. And there were stretches of, like, I'd say anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, you were just running consistently and strong. And then when we would hit a little hill, you would walk. And some of them you would run. But you were always moving forward, which was great. The only time I saw you really stop was the little throwing up, which really wasn't a lot. I've seen you throw up a lot worse. So in that respect, I was thoroughly, I want to say I'm impressed, but this is who you are. Like, you're the example of strength and power. And you were talking about the calmness that you had in the quiet, and the power you had in the calm. And if it was a different way, if their music was blaring or people were talking, or you just don't gravitate to that anymore. You have that confidence that actually the quiet and calm is what you were craving. And this was in the middle of the night, out in the middle of nowhere. If we stopped, and we did stop, and you look around, you'd see some headlights, you'd see some cactuses, outlines of cactuses, you'd hear the crickets, and maybe some foot strike, and maybe a little bit of muffled chatter. But that was it. Other than that, it was pretty peaceful out there. Yeah, it was. I'm glad I got to partake in that. It's. Thank you for letting me be your pacer for the last 20 miles.
You passed. It won't be your last time. I wasn't talking a lot, which is, I really appreciate you not like having a problem with me not talking. Like, you would tell me things, you were reading me things that people had sent, and I just wasn't even responding, but I was listening. But what I wanted you to remind, like, not remind me, but I just remember saying, like, I'm so peaceful. I feel so peaceful right now. And my body was in total distress. And I was like, I feel so peaceful right now. And there were a couple times where I was like, oh yeah, should I use a mantra? Like, thinking, and I would try a mantra. I was like, oh, everything was distraction. The mind, I noticed this, and I talked about this after Lake Sonoma. The mind is quiet. And it just, I felt like it was just kind of like tucked back there, just resting. And I was very, very peaceful. And the body was definitely in distress, but my set point is, it's really powerful to be that peaceful and be pushing that hard. And it's really, it's available for every single person that's on this earth. Everybody, that's your birthright, to be peaceful and to be powerful and to be calm.
So you showed up every day leading into this race with that peace and calm, and on race day it showed up. You finished 7th in your age group, 7th out of 124 women who started.
I think it was 120. Was it my age group? 100? No,
there were less, but 7th in your age group, 20th female. 124 started the race, and 93 finished the race.
Nice.
So quite impressive. Top 10 in your age group.
Woo!
20 overall.
Woo-woo.
First 100K.
Yay for me!
Yay for you!
Yay for Jess!
All right.
That helps Jess. Jess likes
Good
those,
for Jess.
Jess likes those stats.
All right, let's help our listeners navigate the world of ultra running and give them some just quick tips on the gear that you use, because I think gear was pretty important for this type of race. When you start to go longer, the gear that you choose is really needs to be spot on. You can't use a headlamp that you use for camping with like 1 or 2 little lights.
So you know what I'm talking about now when I talk about lumens, right?
Yeah, I do know what the lumens are all about.
It's all about lumens out there at night.
So give them a rundown. What do you think is the most important gear that they need to have to embark on a journey like this?
Oh gosh, well, 2 things that I really just were amazing last night was my headlamp, which is the Petzl Now Plus. And it's 750 lumens, I think, when it's on its brightest. First of all, it's badass looking. So you put that thing on, you're like, let's rock and roll. Second thing is that it's comfortable. And you can get a backup battery, which the backup battery is like $70 and it's worth it. You just buy it, right? You just get in that abundance mindset and you say, yeah, I'm going to have a backup battery. It's easy to charge. It's super durable. So a good headlamp, because we saw some people out there with headlamps that were like subpar lumens. You know, I really like the lumens out there. Light up the night. Because there's a depth perception that happens. And when you have more lumens, it really helps with that depth perception at running at night. And then I won the Kogala 800 lumen lamp in the sweepstakes the other day. Javelina was doing a giveaway, and I saw the giveaway and I was like, I'm going to win. Like, I just knew I was going to win. So I put my name in, put my entries in, and I won. So I got that, which is great. It's like $160 night running lamp. So you'll be using that for my next race. And a jacket that is lightweight, but also like provides a ton of warmth. I love the Patagonia Houdini. It's ridiculous. Like, you can't figure out why it keeps you so warm, because it's featherweight and it packs up into a tiny little bag. So I would say having a good jacket, because it's got a hood and everything. And that's all I took out on that second loop. And there was a point when we left Jackass and I started to shiver, and I was like, okay, I'm going to put my Houdini on. And it really is. It's magical. So a good jacket, good headlamp, and a running pack that's comfortable for you. You got to find your style and your brand. So I love Ultimate Direction. I've had 2 friends buy the pack that I wear. I wear the Ultimate Direction Halo. Absolutely love it. It's small, but you can fit a ton in it, and it's low profile, and it becomes a part of me. But 2 of my friends bought it and they returned it. Did not work for them at all. So you gotta give or take. But what I've found is these companies are amazing. Like Halo Ultimate Direction just replaced my entire pack, because some stuff was like kind of having some pretty quick wear and tear on it. And they were like, no questions, sent me a brand new pack. They were great. Shoes, same thing. Make sure your shoes are shoes that you could live in. So I found the Ultra Timps are my jam. I love those shoes. And my feet are doing pretty well. I have, like I said, I've got one toe that got pretty beat up. And so good shoes, good lumens. I'm talking specifically for like when you're going into temperature changes, good jacket. And then gaiters. I love gaiters. I use Dirty Girl gaiters. And I felt like it was a course yesterday that gaiters were really good, because they prevent the rocks from getting into your shoes. But I almost always wear my gaiters, because one day I was running down Mount Baldy and I got my shoelace stuck on a rock, and I had some non-physical support there that kept me from basically having a terrible, terrible fall. And I was like, went home that night, ordered the gaiters, and I wear them all the time.
I think you're missing one key tool.
Lube. Squirrels, nut butter.
Squirrels, nut butter.
Gratuitously lube your nuts. I love that stuff. And they have a vegan version. And Chris, the owner, is super cool. So
yeah, it's really good stuff. I know I've used it quite a bit, under the arms and just the areas that are going to chafe, the back of your neck.
But I've also used it on like my tattoo. Like I got my most recent tattoo in August. And I'm still out training, and it's like in the heat. And sometimes it would get a little irritated, and I would put the squirrels at night on my tattoo, and it just soothed it. So they put some really good ingredients in there.
So over and over and over and over again, you've proved to yourself that anything is possible for you. And you may come up with some challenges, but you always seem to navigate them. And I think back to when you said you were never going to do triathlon, and you did triathlon, and then you did your half Ironman, and then you did a full Ironman, and then you started running marathons, and then you ventured into long distance running, now ultra running, and now you've just finished your first 100K. So I want to wrap this up with helping those who are listening that say, oh, that's great, that's amazing. I can never do that. I can never do that. I can never run 100K. I can never run a marathon. My knees are too bad. And they have the doubt and fear that they're not capable of achieving this. What can you leave our listeners with that maybe will help them take that next step?
What you've just described is very, very common. And so it really depends on how you feel about those things. Do those things make you feel good? Like, are you fine with saying like, oh, I could never run that? Oh, kind of like, it's not on my heart to go to Kona. Like, I'm okay with that. It's not on my heart to go to Kona. Are you okay with, like, does it feel good to live within those beliefs? And if it feels good, well, you can stay there as long as you want. I want to speak to the people who have kind of had it with the limitations. They've kind of had it with the anxiety. They've kind of had it with the fear. They're starting to get pissed about these beliefs that are holding them back from what their heart is telling them, because they also have an attunement with their heart, and they're like, oh, I would love to do that, but I would love to do that, but those are the people who are on their way, right? And so it's all about how you feel. It's all about how you feel, because the feeling is the creation. So if you feel like you want to run 100K, it's already in you. And from point A to point B, B being the finish line of that 100K, it's the physical prep, but the physical prep and everything along the way is going to be so much harder if we're not doing the mental reps every day. And the mental reps start with just paying attention. Pay attention to those thoughts. Now, if you're somebody that says, yeah, actually, I'm fine with that. Yeah, my knees are bad. I'm fine with that. Okay, good. Stay there as long as you want. But perhaps you might just pay a little more attention. Just pay attention. Are you fine there? Because that soul of who you truly are is here to expand. We're actually always expanding. Just because of the time that we live in, all the technological advancements, we are expanding because those things are expanding. So just pay attention. It all starts with paying attention. So all this stuff that I'm talking about, the peace, when my body's in total distress, the gratitude, when I'm throwing up on the side of the trail, breaking my rib at a 50K a month before this race, and basically having a broken rib throughout all my training, and being totally grateful for all of it. That all started by just paying attention. Because what happened was, by paying attention, I got to see how I was moving through the world, and I got to see the incongruency between how I was moving through the world and what I wanted to see in the world. I wanted to see a peaceful world. I wanted to see a world of connection. I wanted to see a world of love. I wanted to see a world of people living their dreams. And I wasn't doing that. I was putting out anxiety. I was putting out fear. I was putting out judgment. Yeah, I was putting out love. I was putting out power. I've always been very intuitive, very, very intuitive, very, very, very powerful my whole life. But I was doing it through the ego. I was putting out a lot into the world that I didn't want to see in the world. And so by paying attention, I got a chance to shift that stuff. And by shifting that stuff, I was able to rid myself of those things. And as I rid myself of those things, I realized that the better it gets, the better it gets.
Beautifully said, as usual. It's just so on point. And I draw extreme inspiration from listening to you and being with you and this path that we're on. It's not easy, as we've shared with everyone before, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because the growth that we get from these experiences trumps anything. And we just come out stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And we continue to do so because we stand up to those beliefs and we stay present. We stay present and in the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to close with two things. Number one, Jody. I did not see any javelinas out there. She loves javelinas. My friend Jody loves javelinas. Didn't see any out there. And number two, on one of the trail runs that I do regularly in Carlsbad, Calavera Hills or Lake Calavera trails, there's a labyrinth there. And every time I go there, I always run the labyrinth, which makes my pace slower, which makes me not have as much miles. But I love running the labyrinth. So when you run the or you walk a labyrinth, you go in with what you want to let go of. And when you get to the center of the labyrinth, you let go of that. And then you bring in what it is that you want to bring in. So I had done this about 10 days before the race. And I never plan it. I just take my first step into the labyrinth. And then whatever it is that I need to let go of, it just kind of comes. And so I was going into the labyrinth and I was like, I want to let go of any remnants of limitation that I'm not seeing. I want to let go of any remnants of limitation that I'm not seeing. And then I got to the center, and as I came back out, I said, and I've really been like, this has been in my awareness, that I live in the energy of all that is good, all that is powerful, all that is loving, all that is abundant. And I do not have to be punished to live there. I can live there freely, knowing that there doesn't have to be a dark side. That I can live in that power and limitless experience and not have to feel bad about it, not have to dim my light for anyone else. And that I get to do this so others can see it. And that I don't want to do that from the ego. I want to do that from the heart. And I felt that going into Javelina. I had such a really deep knowing that it was going to be an amazing experience. And I remember just thinking, that doesn't mean anything bad needs to happen. You don't have to be punished because you live in all that is good, all that is calm, all that is powerful and trusting and limitless. And that's available for everyone. In fact, it's our birthright. In fact, it's what we came here to find. And it all starts with just paying attention.
All right. Have a great recovery week. And then what's next?
I get the amazing honor of pacing our athlete Jody at her first 50 mile in 2 weeks, I think, November 16th.
Awesome.
So
very cool.
She sent me a text about finishing last night, and I just replied to her, "You're next."